Hi, this is a DVD we're making today on how to sharpen and maintain your knives. There's many different ways of doing it, and the way I'm going to show you today is the most simplest way I can think of. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to show you some knives in Damascus steel that I've made, and what they're used for and how they sharpen. This is a set of Damascus steel knives I've made with the kangaroo leather folder. This is a big chef's knife that is traditionally used for pumpkins and carrots and whatever you feel like you can manage with it. It's okay to do smaller things with it like garlic if you feel safe with it. Just watch your fingers. But if you feel comfortable cutting garlic with a big knife, that's fine too. It's what you feel good with. This is my multicultural knife. This one I've designed because in Australia today, our food fusion is a lot more sophisticated than it was 25 years ago with chops and mashed potatoes and 3 veg. But now we're doing a little bit of Chinese, a little bit of French, a little bit of Japanese and so on. This knife does the whole lot. This is a medium chef knife. Once again, if you feel comfortable with this knife over the bigger knife, then that's fine. That's up to you. This is a carving knife, what we can use for maybe carving up a lamb or a turkey or filleting a fish, and there's plenty of spring in it. Some people like spring for filleting a fish. This is a traditional boning knife shape. We can use this for boning out chickens, lamb, whatever you want. Watch out, don't put your fingers in the way. This is a paring knife. This is for smaller works, you know, maybe like garlic or beans or whatever you feel comfortable with using it yourself. Not recommended to cut up big things like pumpkins and big zucchinis and things like that because it's a bit small. This is why we use the big chef's knife. So I'll put them away and then I'll introduce you to the stones. I'm going to show you some traditional honing stones that we're going to use. There's 2 types we can use. There's stones that are soaked in oil, I use kerosene, or water stones. I prefer to use the water stones because we're using kitchen knives and we don't want to contaminate the food, so water's much safer. The coarse ones we use when the knife's real blunt, and then we move into the fine ones to finish the edge on the knife. It's better to sharpen a knife by hand because what's happening is it's massaging the steel, you're relaxing the molecules. If we put it on a bench grinder or something like that, we can take the temper out of the blade or we can stress it. This is why the motion that we're using on the stone is like massaging. So there are different devices for sharpening knives, but in my personal opinion, I think you can't go wrong if you do it on a stone. So here are some oil stones. I keep them in a container and they're soaked in kerosene. One side's coarse and the other side's fine. It's good to have a coarse and a fine stone so you can take the meat off. The coarse side takes the meat off the knife and the other side sort of basically finishes it to put the edge on. I'll put that back now. We can use a damp cloth or a damp sponge. That will help the stone to stop it from sliding. This is a water stone, and this particular one's 400 grit. I myself prefer to use a wooden piece of wood that I've carved out because I can take the feather off the knife, which I'll explain to you later. So I'll put the stone in the piece of wood. Okay, so we'll start with sharpening the chef's knife. I'd like to briefly talk about the angle that the knife should be on the stone. Basically, the flatter the blade is on the stone, the finer the edge we can get. The more acute the angle, the longer the edge will last, but it's not going to cut as well. We start at the tip of the knife and we work along the blade like so. Up and down, checking every now and then how much meat's been removed. When we're happy with one side, we turn it over and do the other side. From the tip of the knife to the heel. Keep your fingers up away from the edge of the knife. Now if we look at the edge of the knife and we see that it's reflecting light along here, this is where we concentrate the most weight. So we put our fingers over that spot and we can press down hard. From the tip of the knife, and as we're going around we go to the shape of the tip of the knife. From the tip of the knife to the heel. From the heel back up to the tip. Circular motion, as you can see. If you feel comfortable with the stone in a different position, we can turn it around and we can work this way. It's up to you. Whatever feels comfortable for you. You're going to develop your own style. This is just to get you started. Okay, so we need a bit more work in the middle there. So this is where we apply pressure with our fingers. But don't concentrate on the one spot too much because you can wear a hollow in the knife. From the tip, we're at the spot now that's really blunt, so we'll do a couple more circles and then just keep going down to the heel. From the heel, stop at the spot that's got the high spot for a while and then move up to the tip. As you can see on the stone, there's the carborundum. This is a paste. This is the thing that actually cuts the steel, so we don't really want to wipe the paste off. This is the paste we can see now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stone back in the water to provide a little bit more lubricant for it. I'm not going to wipe the paste off because this is the thing that's cutting the steel. Okay. Back to the wood. Now, I like to work along the stone. So we're starting at the tip of the knife and we're applying downward pressure with the fingers, and we're going to start from the tip to the heel. One stroke. You don't have to go fast, backwards and forwards like that. What's happening too when we do these strokes on the stone, whether they be circular or linear, we're wearing a pattern in the stone. And this is our signature, our personal signature. So it's good if you've got a stone, only use it yourself because someone else is going to cut a different pattern into it. Once again, we check out what we've done, wipe the carborundum off the blade, have a look. So we're seeing if there's any light being reflected off here, and there's a bit of light being reflected off there. So this is where we apply the downward pressure. Turn it over from the tip to the heel. You can hear the stone cutting the steel back. So just take it nice and slow, don't rush it. Lift those fingers up so they're not exposed to the edge. Turn it over, the other side. Take you a while to get used to this motion, but don't worry, the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. So we're trying to do even strokes on each side of the knife. Let's say 10 on one side and 10 on the other. That's not critical. But you can see I'm doing this with my right hand now. So the pattern that I'm cutting on the blade is going to be different than if I do it with the left. Don't worry about that. That's part of the natural shape of the knife. One side's going to be different than the other. Nothing in nature is even, is it? When we're confident that the feathers appeared, we finish with one stroke, and that is a forward stroke, and we're moving from the tip of the knife to the heel one way. We're not pulling the knife back. This is the finishing stroke. Turn the knife over. 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Could be 4, could be 5, it's up to you. Now as you can see that the feathers appeared. Now how we get rid of the feather is we wipe it through the end grain of the wood. Usually a soft piece of wood, and this is the action. As you can see now, the feather has been taken off by wiping it through the end grain of the timber. There's another way that we can remove the feather by using a steel. Traditionally we use the steel if the edge is folded over or if the edge has been dinged, if we hit a bone or something. So what we do is we start at the tip of the steel and the heel of the knife. We moved under the steel and we apply upward pressure from the heel to the tip. This is straightening up the edge if it's rolled over, or the ding in the edge if we've hit a bone. After a few strokes we turn it over, we have a look. If the edge is not reflecting light, then it's sharp. By the way, if any rust scale appears on your black steel knives, I've found the best way to get it off is a bit of Scotch-Brite, up and down the blade, like so. Or if it's deeper, a cork with a bit of wet and dry. The wet and dry is wrapped around the cork, like so, up and down the blade. Hope you've learnt something from this DVD and enjoyed it. Now we're going to cut something. I hope your knives are going to be as sharp as mine.